women who get together with other women are healthier, happier, and stronger.
Now we can make some figure eights with our hips. Figure eight, figure eight, figure eight, figure eight. Woo!
By the time I met Mickey, I had already contemplated suicide and I was developing a plan. That's how dark my life had gotten.
Because I'm a woman, phenomenal woman, that's me.
Welcome to Prime Time for Women, the show for and about women in their prime. For many of you, our next guest will be familiar. Last year, before COVID-19, when Prime Time for Women was taping before a live audience, she was the MC, the behind-the-scenes wonder of wonder, welcoming guests, organizing prizes and giveaways, and entertaining the audience during commercial breaks. Of course, I'm talking about Andi Overton. Today, she's not behind the scenes, she's on stage with me, and it's such a pleasure. She's front and center. Andi, who is a raconteur extraordinaire, is the Director of Business Development at Mount St. Mary's University on the Frederick campus. She's the President of the Washington County Commission for Women, and a community activist, and a recent graduate of Emerge Maryland. On top of all that, she recently ran for elected office while working to complete her doctorate degree at USMH. With everything that's on her plate, I'm so grateful that she made time to join us here for today's program to share her story, which I can assure you is as entertaining as it is inspiring. Welcome, Andi. Thanks for being here.
Bernadette, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so that's great. So Andi, I know you're on Prime Time for Women, but you're like in the big scheme of things, you're still a little baby. You know, if life was a video game, women in their prime are shooting for 100 and you're just a little over 40. So, but I'm still so glad you're here because you've accomplished so much in a short time. I was wondering, Andi, what were you like as a little girl? I mean, what were you the same kind of passionate as you are now?
You know, I would like to think that I was. My mother will tell you that I was strong-willed and opinionated. I think that has come straight through, right?
Yeah.
Into my 40s, obviously. I was a go-getter, so I think I've shared this story with you before, but I was always volunteered for the service, right? So if something needed to be done, well, Andi will go and get that done for you. And my mother just really allowed me to be myself and get involved in as many different things as I could, and I did. I was an athlete. I was in 4-H, which is obviously an organization for youth, and I raised horses, I worked on farms, I played sports, and I helped people out. So I'd like to think I was just as involved, just with a little bit more energy at age 12.
Yeah, that's great though. So Andi, you talked about horses. Are you still a pet person now?
Oh yeah. You know, if anybody's been to my house or on my Instagram or my Facebook, they'll see that I have 4 dogs, 3 cats, my girlfriend and I we live on the North End. All of our animals but 2, Bernadette, have special needs. So we have tripods. We have dogs with 1 eye, and the other eye is half blind. We have cats who are 3.5-legged. And we just seem to think that, you know, we see the good in all animals. And if you have a special needs and you are an animal, you probably live in my house.
Yeah, but you know what, Andi, that also carries through to your relationship with people. You are so welcoming and work to find common ground with people who are different than you. And that's not something that everybody does. So that's such a great analogy for your life. You've worn many hats and you've challenged yourself in many ways. I was wondering, have you ever been afraid to try something new? Can you tell us a story about maybe some time in your life where there was a little bit of a challenge or a little bit of a tendency to hold back?
Yeah. I think if anyone says they're not fearful of something new, they're lying, right? There's always that anxiety. And while I seem to think that, you know, if there's something to be done, we're going to get it done, it doesn't mean that it's not hard. It doesn't mean that it's not scary. And I think that even my time putting my name in the hat to run for public office is terrifying. And I think that if you have the vision and the mission and you really can see that end goal, no matter how it turns out, the scariness goes away. The anxiety seems to lessen. And if you can create a support group around you, it actually seems doable. So sure, there's lots of little stories about where I was anxious or fearful, but in the end, it seemed to be the right thing to do. And even if it didn't turn out exactly the way that I wanted, the path and the mission alone seemed to just enrich me. And I think that is the whole purpose. So no big stories of fear, more about overcoming something that allows us to just continue working in the community and being us.
And I think that, your willingness to put yourself out there and tackle something without a guaranteed outcome is commendable. And I know you recently ran for mayor, and you did not make it out of the primaries.
I did not.
Yeah, so I was wondering, what did you learn from that experience? Why did you decide to run? What were the issues that you wanted to bring forward? And where does it leave you now? So you're not going to advance to the general election, but I know that you have plans anyhow.
Oh, I always do. Yeah, so the reason I ran and what I've been talking about for a year is that I believe that Hagerstown is good ground. I think Takesha Martinez says that all the time, and I agree with her. And I think we can do so much more. And I thought I was the best candidate out there. And that's okay. Because I didn't make it through the primary doesn't mean that the work stops. You just use a different name for it. So instead of candidate for mayor, I'm Andi Overton Citizen, and I'm here to push forward the work of the Washington County Commission for Women. I'm here to make sure that all of our residents feel safe and respected. I'm here to push education and programs. None of that has changed. It never has, it never will. It's just under a different title.
Lucky Hagerstown, is what I have to say.
So the work continues, Bernadette.
That's great. Well, I know I just love your can-do spirit, and I can't wait to hear more about it. But first, we're going to take a short commercial break, and we'll be right back after this message.
I was afraid, I was in pain, and I was on medications. I didn't want to be just another number. I wanted to be somewhere not far from my family, and somewhere that I knew I had the right doctor. The staff was simply wonderful. The manner, the professionalism, the protocol, it's 100%.
Access to high-speed internet is critical for school-aged children. Since 2014, Antietam Broadband and Washington County Public Schools have partnered to connect students and families in need with low-cost, high-speed internet service at home. Every child deserves an opportunity to succeed. Ask your child's teacher for more information on the Antietam EduNet program. A message from Washington County Public Schools and Antietam Broadband.
The DVR. It's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
You know the difference between a minor fall, and a major fall. But do you know where to go when they occur? If you are having an urgent but non-emergency healthcare problem like a minor fall, flu symptoms, or sinus infection, visit our urgent care center. We are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. For a major fall and other critical or complex medical matters, you should come right into our emergency department. Now you know where to go.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're still with us because we have lots more to hear from Andi Overton. Andi, in your day-to-day life and in your campaign and then when you work with the Women's Commission, all these different areas, you have tons of people who support you. Are they family? Are they friends? Are they colleagues? Who are your cheerleaders?
Yeah. So, I have to say that my closest friends are my family. I seem to have a close-knit group of supporters that I can go to for the hard questions, the easy questions, the good things and the bad things. Mm-hmm. And whether by blood or not, they're still my family. So, of course, my girlfriend Stacy is the number one cheerleader in my life. My mother, who lives 4 houses away from me, which is 4 houses, the perfect space between mother and daughter. She is also one of my cheerleaders, and I have a host of friends, some who have been in my life for over 20 years, and they really act like my cousins or my sisters. And they tell me, Andi, what you said is not right. Let's pick that vision back up and get back on the path. Or, no, you're doing okay. Just keep forging ahead. You'll be fine. And I think that's what family is.
Yeah, and I think people who can speak both the truth and comfort you in that truth and also encourage you, that's a really good definition.
A little bit
family.
of both is exactly who I have around me.
Right. So who are your role models in life?
Sure.
Are they celebrities? Are they sports people? Or are they the people in your family? Who are your role models?
You know, when I went through the political process, I found that my role models are everyday people, people who are making a difference and changing or chasing their dreams. There's a young woman who started her own bakery at 16 years old, and at 18, she's an entrepreneur and a business owner. She's my mentor, my hero. She's wonderful. You know, my own family, of course, achieving their dreams. The kids that I see coming into Mount St. Mary's who then graduate later on, oh, they've completed their dream. And I am empowered by these folks. But I will tell you, there is one celebrity, and it's not really why you would think. It's RBG, it's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. But here's why. Not only is she a fantastic justice on the Supreme Court, but Bernadette, do you know that she wakes up almost every day and she works out? And, you know, at some point, I think in my life, she could probably have done more push-ups than I could. And I thought to myself, if this woman who is twice my age can get up in the morning and work out, I need to get off the couch.
Okay.
And truly, I think about that all the time. If RBG can do push-ups, it's time for me to get back in the gym. So I did.
Okay, well, that's a great story. So she could be an inspiration for all of us.
Oh, she could.
So, Andy, what is the best advice you've ever been given? Something, you know, that you've taken with you and will use the rest of your life.
Yeah, and it's the same advice I give. It's eat the cake and turn left. Eat the cake means no matter how you feel about yourself and what you're doing, if you're at a birthday party, a celebration, usually that's when we have cake, it's okay. Be in the moment. Eat the cake. No one's going to care. Enjoy that time in that moment. And then turn left simply to me means, you know, you can drive across the country, which I've done a few times, going in almost in a straight line, A to B. But it's really nice every once in a while to get off the beaten path and turn left and see what that has to offer you. So I use that in my life a lot. Just live in the moment, eat the cake, and look for something different outside your comfort zone. Turn left.
Okay, that's great. Great advice. Eat the cake and turn left. I hope everybody remembers that. So as human beings, we all have these successes and we have trials. And, you know, we're not all positive or all negative or all good or bad. You know, we have a little mix of both. And I was wondering if you could share a little story that would be both one of your successes and one of your trials.
Sure. When I was an undergraduate, I decided I wanted to go to grad school. And what happens at Mount Holyoke College is we would all live in dorms, and along the wall next to your dorm room, you would post and paste up all the letters you would get accepting you to whatever graduate program so that you could then choose where to go. I was rejected 25 times from 25 different schools. I didn't make the cut. American University said, you know what? I see something in you, and you are going to go to DC, and you're going to get into this graduate program. So my trials was that, obviously, I came from a pretty prestigious school. Mount Holyoke College is not at all easy for me. I did well, but I wasn't exceptional, and that's okay. I was rejected 25 times from 25 different graduate programs, and it propelled me. I got into one school. I did all right. I got a master's. And then I went back 20 years later, got another master's, and now I'm in a doctorate program. So what that told me was, it's okay. You will find your niche. You will be able to do what you need to do. And sometimes you got to go through 25 rejections to find the one that says, I think you'll be okay here.
Yeah, and that's really good advice for all of us as we struggle with our day-to-day challenges.
Yeah.
Because I think it means keep at it, right? Don't give up.
That's right.
That's great. And what advice can you share to encourage others in their prime?
Well, Bernadette, you know, it's the same advice that was given to me. It's eat the cake and turn left. Get out of your comfort zone and live in the moment. And I can't believe that would be, it's the best answer, without a doubt.
Yeah, and I think one we can all relate to, and it will taste good too, right?
That's right.
I'd like to thank Andy for joining us on Prime Time for Women TV. As always, her warmth, humor, humility, and authenticity are reminders of who we can be when we are our best selves. Andy has much of which to be proud, but when you talk with her, what comes through is her gratitude for all the chances she's had to make a difference. She reminds me of words spoken by Ezra T. Benson, who said, "Pride is concerned with who is right. Humility is concerned with what is right." I'm so grateful to Andy for being on today's program and for working in our community for what is right. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
I was afraid, I was in pain, and I was on medications. I didn't want to be just another number. I wanted to be somewhere not far from my family, and somewhere that I knew I had the right doctor. The staff was simply wonderful. The manner, the professionalism, the protocol, it's 100%.
The DVR, it's changed the way we watch TV. And now, Antietam Broadband takes you to the next level with TiVo. Find your favorites on cable or streaming video faster with voice-activated integrated search. Record up to 6 channels at once and watch from any TV in your home. TiVo from Antietam Broadband. It will change your life. Call today or visit AntietamBroadband.com to learn more.
Welcome back to Prime Time for Women TV. I was recently asked, how old do you have to be in your prime? Let me tell you, prime is not an age, it's an attitude. Women in their prime don't let age define them, no matter what the number of years since they were born. Women in their prime revel in tweaking ageist stereotypes and focus not on probabilities, but on possibilities. Do you know amazing women who live lives on their own terms, who don't conform to social expectations of aging? If so, I hope you'll post their pictures on Prime Time for Women's Facebook page so that we can all be inspired. Speaking of Facebook, I recently saw a post featuring a grandmother water skiing with her husband and 4 grandchildren, all 6 being pulled by the same boat at the same time. It was so cool. That picture reminded me of my mom back in 2017 when we were on a family vacation and a family reunion, and she went with 16 of her grandchildren to a karaoke bar, and they were all ages 23 to 35. My mom got up on stage and proceeded to bring the house down with her rendition of Life is a Cabaret, dancing the can-can with a feather boa. Boy, people jumped up on stage and joined her. It was amazing. People were laughing so hard, but not at her, with her. She gave them so much joy in her freedom of living life with no fear. That's what being in your prime is all about. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Carissa Hipp, founder of The Nature Prescription and Girls Who Hike, who will share the story of another woman, Emma Grandma Gatewood, who lived life on her own terms. She did things her way. Things people said couldn't be done, she did them anyway. Grandma Gatewood's adventures have inspired books and songs and even a documentary film entitled Trail Magic, The Grandma Gatewood Story, which won Best Local Documentary at the Chagrin Falls Film Festival. Welcome, Carissa. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Sure, it's a pleasure. So Emma Grandma Gatewood was born in October 25th, 1887, after raising 11 children. She's famously quoted as saying, hiking the Appalachian Trail wasn't tough compared to what she'd already been through. Can you talk a little bit about her life and why she said that?
Sure. When Ben Montgomery was writing Grandma Gatewood's Walk, he started speaking with her children and found that she had lived a life of domestic abuse. She had been married to a man for 30 years, and he, throughout those 30 years, beat her terribly. And even when she was pregnant, she had suffered 2 miscarriages during that time. And so she had lived through this horrendous domestic abuse. And that was part of her reason for getting out into nature and heading out on the trail.
And she found peace and comfort there, right? Yeah.
She did.
So I know you can tell us a little story about how she heard about the Appalachian Trail. It's a great story. I was wondering if you'd share it.
Yes. You have to think back to that time frame and put into perspective the fact that the Appalachian Trail was fairly new at that time.
This is 1955.
Yes,
right?
And only I think one other person had hiked it already, Earl Schaefer, and he actually had hiked it, and then he let the Appalachian Trail Conservancy know, and he had to kind of prove that he had actually hiked that entire trail because it was never really intended for through hikers. It was for local hikers to hike their individual sections. But Grandma Gatewood read about it in a National Geographic magazine. And I'm sure, just like any magazine today, she saw the beautiful photo spread that went with it. And she was like, I want to do this. And she said to her children that, if a man can do this, then I can do this. So she decided kind of in her head at that point in time that she was going to hike the Appalachian Trail. She was going to do it no matter what.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I remember reading too that it was 1955 when she read this article in a magazine that was published in 1946. So she was like, okay, nobody else has done this, so I'm going to do it.
Right.
It's well known that Grandma Gatewood enjoyed being in nature that she benefited from those healing aspects. As the founder of the Nature Prescription, can you talk about the link between enjoying nature and the associated health benefits?
Sure. When you get out in nature, there's a certain awe effect that many of us experience. Sometimes it can be compared to like the birth of a child, major life events. And it kind of helps you kind of feel where your place is in the larger world, and it can make a lot of your problems seem to disappear. It's very good for your health physically and mentally. It lowers cortisol levels, and we know that it also is really good for boosting your creativity and just giving you that feel-good feeling.
That's great. Well, Carissa, I want to hear more about that and also hear about Girls Who Hike, another organization you founded. But first, we're going to take a quick commercial and then we'll be right back.
Great.
We would like to thank you for complying with the governor's orders and helping us to help you in these difficult times. Our volunteers are here for you.
Thank you to all of our Washington County first responders for keeping us safe during the pandemic. Also, a huge thank you to our parents, our students, and our teachers for maintaining distance learning during this outage.
We're working together to help you.
You know the difference between a minor fall and a major fall. But do you know where to go when they occur? If you are having an urgent but non-emergency healthcare problem like a minor fall, flu symptoms, or sinus infection, visit our urgent care center. We are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. For a major fall and other critical or complex medical matters, you should come right into our emergency department. Now you know where to go.
Welcome back. We're still here with Carissa Hipp, and she's going to tell us a little bit about Girls Who Hike, the organization she founded in 2018 and has now over 1,600 members. So Carissa, tell us a little bit about this all-female hiking group.
Sure. Near the end of 2017, when I was really getting into hiking and looking into local hiking groups, I didn't see any really active groups here in Maryland. And so there was this greater organization called Girls Who Hike, and they were actually looking to expand into other states. It had started in California. And so I volunteered to be the Maryland ambassador. So I started the Maryland chapter of Girls Who Hike. As you said, we have grown to over 1,600 women.
How many women did it have when you started it?
When I was able to take over the Facebook page, I think it was less than 100.
Right.
So it's
that's really a lot of growth.
It has been a lot of growth. And the idea is that we get together once a month, at least in non-COVID times, and have an official monthly hike that is female only. And then throughout the rest of the month, people are encouraged to get people together for their own unofficial hikes and get out on the trail together. The whole idea is that we don't ever want a woman to have that desire to get out on the trail but not have anybody to go with, because there are lots of us out there oftentimes who are like, yeah, I want to go along. So
that's great.
It gets women out on the trail to experience nature and the outdoors together.
And that connection among other women, which is super important and good for your health too.
Yes.
That's great. So Carissa, I'm looking at your bio here. You've worked as a park ranger, a public affairs specialist for the National Park Services. You've done marketing and traveling, tourism traveling, marketing for Frederick and Washington counties. You're the founder of Nature Prescription. You're an adjunct professor at Carroll Community College. How do you have time to get all that in and still find time to hike?
Well, I think through the years, especially working in tourism marketing, I was trying to attract people to the outdoors. I was sitting behind a desk writing about these wonderful places that we have, particularly in Washington and Frederick counties. And then after my third child was born and I decided to step away from my full-time job, I kept thinking about these places that I would write about, and I kind of enticed myself into getting out there on the trail and just really enjoying them myself. So now I've figured out how to still, stay home and do some copywriting, but get out on the trail much more frequently.
And just real quickly, can you tell us how people can find out more information about Girls Who Hike and the Nature Prescription?
Because of the nature of the organization and the fact that it's female only, we operate as a private Facebook group, but we are searchable. So if anyone wants to put Girls Who Hike MD for Maryland into the search bar, we should come up, and then they can request to join, and I will let you into the group.
That's great. Carissa, we have so much in common with our missions of our organization. Prime Time for Women is about connecting women and the health benefits that arise from that. And Girls Who Hike, it's very similar in that getting women together in nature, they get health benefits both from the connection and from the nature. So I'm really excited about this collaborative effort that we're going to offer in October in honor of celebrating Grandma Gatewood. And I was wondering if you would do the privilege of talking about that.
Sure. We are partnering together to do a special hike for women to celebrate Grandma Gatewood's legacy. And we are going to hike part of the Appalachian Trail here in Maryland. There are almost 41 miles here in Maryland. We're not attempting all of that, and especially not in one afternoon, but we are going to start from the Park and Ride at Weaverton and head north up to the Ed Garvey Shelter, and then on the way back we'll be able to stop and enjoy the beautiful overlook at Weaverton Cliffs that looks towards Harper's Ferry and to Brunswick.
And you can see the rivers below.
Yes, you can see the river below, oftentimes trains passing on the train tracks too, right down by the C&O Canal.
And this is a really beautiful hike. It's not super challenging. It's rated as moderate. Can you talk a little bit about the elevation and any challenges?
Sure. The initial incline is a little bit challenging. We'll definitely take that section slow so that everybody takes their time over the rocky portion of it. But then when you get up to the ridge line, it really kind of evens out, and it'll be a slightly steady climb towards the shelter, and then we'll head back to the cliffs, and as we're coming down, kind of need to use the same sort of caution. Definitely a hike that if you have trekking poles, we would recommend bringing those.
Okay, and Prime Time for Women and Girls Who Hike, we're really excited about this. We recognize that there's going to be a lot of people who will want to participate, but we're going to cap this event at 25 people. So you'll be able to register starting on July 25th on Eventbrite. Carissa, could you quickly talk a little bit about conditioning or anything that people should do if they haven't hiked, or what is there anything special they need to do, or can they just get out there?
Well, definitely you can just get out there, but the caveat to that is you don't want to necessarily attempt a climb like Weaverton if you haven't been out for maybe a couple months, if you've been staying indoors a lot during COVID. So, starting in your neighborhood, just like Grandma Gatewood did, that's kind of how I started, is, making laps around the neighborhood, try to figure out where the hills are and steadily, climb those hills so that you're going against them and doing a little bit harder work. And, you can incorporate things like squats and lunges. It doesn't have to be anything terribly fancy. You don't have to, engage in an exercise program or get fancy equipment, but there are a lot of body weight exercises and things that you can do, and we can certainly share those out on our Facebook pages as well.
So get out there and do a little bit of hiking before October 25th.
Right, build up to it.
Yeah, that's great. So there you have it, some great advice from an expert hiker on how to get ready for Grandma Gatewood's legacy hike on Sunday, October 25th. You can register on Eventbrite by visiting Prime Time for Women's Facebook page or Eventbrite and the Girls Who Hike Facebook page. In the meantime, to share the excitement, post your hiking pictures on Prime Time for Women's Facebook page. A big thank you to Carissa, and we'll wrap up the show with a quote from the Project Happiness.org website that says, "Take a walk in the trees and smell the wild air. Nature's ability to heal is greater than anyone has permitted you to believe." Take care. We'll see you next time.